Hello, a very warm welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Sanam Shantier. Coming up on this week's show, a shaky ceasefire goes into effect in Yemen's port city of Hodeidah. The warring parties, that's the Saudi-backed government and Houthi rebels, agreed to a halt to violence after a week of talks in Sweden. Celebrities in Iran launch a campaign against US sanctions, drawing attention to the devastating impact of these measures on the lives of ordinary Iranians. Also coming up, to like or not to like? That is the question. In his documentary Follow Me, Algerian filmmaker Asri Bendasha takes us on a social media tour of the Middle East, asking the million-dollar question: how do you become a social media influencer? Well, this story is coming up, but first to Yemen, where the strategic port city of Hodeidah remains calm. This after a UN-mediated truce went into effect on Tuesday between government forces and Houthi rebels. The ceasefire was reached last week in Stockholm after the first round of negotiations in 2 years between the warring parties.
After 4 years of intense fighting, leaving Yemen on the brink of famine, a glimmer of hope on Tuesday as the ceasefire was finally implemented. It came after a UN-brokered truce between Houthi rebels and the Saudi-backed Yemeni government forces in Sweden on Thursday. The terms include a complete withdrawal of fighters from Hodeidah. Saudi officials expressed support for the deal.
The ceasefire is the international community's test for the Houthis, especially the UN and countries involved in the Yemen peace talks. The test will determine the Houthi sincerity towards their country and its people. It will also determine whether they can enter the next stage of political settlement.
While there were reports of sporadic clashes in the early hours of Tuesday, Hodeidah has since been relatively calm. The port city is the main entry point for most of Yemen's commercial goods and crucial aid supplies, a lifeline for the millions facing starvation. Since the war began in 2015, tens of thousands of people have died. The fighting has incurred the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Many Yemenis hope the agreement will pave the way for a wider truce in the country.
We turn our attention to Saudi Arabia, which has lashed out on the US Senate for laying the blame for the killing of Jamal Khashoggi with Mohammed bin Salman. The ultra-conservative kingdom has repeatedly denied that the Crown Prince knew about the operation that led to the journalist's death. The joint resolution calls for Riyadh to ensure, quote, appropriate accountability. Meanwhile, the United Nations has called for a credible investigation into Khashoggi's murder on October the 2nd inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Over to Iran, where an Oscar-winning film director, that's Asghar Farhadi, is among the dozens of Iranian celebrities who've taken to the internet to protest US sanctions. Some are also using the hashtag #SanctionsTargetMe. Now, Donald Trump's administration claims these draconian, punitive measures are designed to bring freedom, human rights and apparently a better life to the people of Iran. But as our correspondent Reza Saya reports, this petition says it's the ordinary Iranian that's paying the price.
Renowned Iranian filmmaker Bahman Farmanara has been making movies for more than 5 decades. He's co-produced films for Martin Scorsese and Oliver Stone. He prefers to stay here on movie sets and away from politics. But these days, he's speaking out against US sanctions on Iran.
If I'm a filmmaker in this country and I've lived here for all my life, I owe it to the people. Because of that, I cannot be just indifferent.
Farmanara is among nearly 200 Iranian artists and celebrities who have signed an online petition against the sanctions. Among them, Academy Award-winning filmmaker Asghar Farhadi. Iranian designer and activist Turaj Sabarivan started the petition and called it Voices Against Sanctions.
When you watch the news or listen to the news, you become involved, and it really hurts you. It makes you want to scream and try to do something.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the sanctions are designed to curb Iran's destabilizing activity in the region and help the Iranian people.
Well, my answer to them is
This is an unbelievable claim. It's a joke. The sanctions are definitely impacting ordinary people.
Lili Golestan is a leading gallerist in Tehran. She too signed the petition.
Mr. Trump is a big liar and mentally unwell, in my view. What help? Is it help when children suffering from cancer die because of a lack of medication? Is it help when all manufacturers shut down because of a lack of supplies? What kind of help is this?
Several Iranian celebrities have helped produce and share a short film that shows how sanctions have made it nearly impossible for a family to get cancer medication for their sick child. The petition signees say their efforts may not persuade Mr. Trump to lift sanctions, but it was their duty to speak out.
We don't think about its effectiveness. As prominent people in this country, we see this as our duty. We are united.
Now, the Insta-fame age is alive and thriving today, and the Middle East is no exception. In fact, countries like Saudi Arabia have the highest YouTube penetration per capita than any other country in the world. Now, the big question is, how do you become a so-called social media influencer, one with an agent and a manager? Some of them even earn up to $5,000 per post. Well, Algerian filmmaker Asri Bendasha has made a Netflix documentary about what it takes. Here's a clip of Follow Me.
700 million people have an Instagram account, but only an elite few of them are making a lot of money just by posting a picture or a video. Hi guys! Those people are called social media influencer. In the social class of Instagram, less than 1% are the wealthy elite, and I am the 99%. We are the 99%. I was completely broke, and I wondered how easy is it to become a social media influencer. So I created an account, and this is my story.
Let's now cross to Asri, who joins us from Dubai. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, you've been very outspoken about what inspired you to make this documentary, haven't you?
The only reason what inspired me was because I was broke, and I'm still broke, to be honest. And I just wanted to understand how these people, without any specific talent, can make that much money. So the idea is to see if I don't have any talent, can I become one of them? And that's why the concept of the documentary.
And so tell us about your experience of meeting these influencers, what it's being referred to in the documentary as the bloggers and the blaggers.
So apparently there is two different type of people. There is the bloggers and the blaggers. So the bloggers, it's the one who used to have a blog online back in the days, writing reviews and articles. And then when the social media came, then they created their account and they keep working on it and they became famous. And then later on, you have these people without talent, without anything special, that just became famous for posting some pictures. And this, no one can really explain this actually.
Now, you've said previously that the world of social media are actually very similar in the US and the Middle East. But I would have expected more restrictions in our region because this is an area which is in part very much still largely conservative.
There is some restriction, I mean, in the region, but you can't control internet, you can't control online. You have Instagram, you have Snapchat, you have YouTube, you have WhatsApp, you have so many tools that the younger generation, everyone has a smartphone, everyone has an internet connection. So the restriction, you can't control it. It's impossible. And you can see that it's very connected between the US or Asia or even Africa, Latin America. There is this worldwide phenomenon of social media influencer. And you can see that it's exactly the same. And even the followers, which we all are followers, we are exactly the same. We behave this exact same way. So it was very interesting for me to see what's happening in this region and to compare to the US. And I realized that there's no difference. The only difference it's the fees that the American get from brands, which is way much than here in the region.
Now, some of these social media figures that you spend time with have millions of followers. You only have, to my count, 12.5 thousand on Instagram. Did you learn anything from them?
No, it's just like, so The film has been released on Netflix 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago. So all my followers, I get like 11 or 12,000 followers almost in just 3.5 weeks. So I didn't learn that much. I was sure that I can become a social media influencer myself once the film will be released. So that was my strategy. Instead of posting every day, I worked for 1.5 years, released the content, and now I'm just waiting for the people to follow me. So I just did the complete opposite.
Now, something else that's interesting is that you delve in your documentary into the fact that social media is emerging as a new home for brands, because some of these posts get more traction than the traditional magazine or even billboard.
It's not just traction, it's also cheaper. All you have to do is to ask the influencer to take his phone and just make a post, and that's it. So it's very, very cheap for brands, and the brands will always go wherever the audience is, and the audience is online. We are all online, spending so much time online, and I do now more since I have more followers. So the brands, once they understand that it's cheaper and very effective, then they went for it, and I don't think it's going to change, to be honest.
Astrid, very briefly, tell us about your next project.
I'm currently working on a film documentary about Bitcoin called Who Wants to Be a Bitcoin Millionaire, to understand the world of cryptocurrency and the impact on the economy worldwide.
Very good. Astrid Vendasha, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Middle East Matters. Of course, if you want to watch his documentary, it's called Follow Me on Netflix. That's it for us this week. Stay tuned for more news coming up shortly.